Thank you so much, Tamara and Loretto. Very quickly, stay here with me. Thank you so much to Tamara and Loretto for setting the tone for today in such an evocative and communal way. We will continue now with another panel, a panel on de-fashion learning and living. And I'm very pleased to welcome Zoe Brought, who will take over from me immediately.
Thank you, baby. Okay, so I think I was ashamed that you all went and sat back down because we're going to start this session not in a kind of panel setup way. We're going to start with a meditation. It's a meditation I'm not leading, just FYI. I'm a baby in meditation. But I actually had my new cohort of students do this in their first 15 minutes of landing in their MA last Monday. I didn't know this was going to happen this morning, so it feels quite intuitive to have kind of requested to the panel whether we would do this or not. You know, I think Renata started by talking about being, not just having. We realized through all the conversations that have been amazing that it's really complex and that we're really complex. And I think maybe actually just being together and being still for 15 minutes is a kind of grace and a kind of way of maybe kind of having that space to reflect on yesterday and even just this morning. I think Lucy was saying we need to maybe stop doing the talking and do all the conversations that have been amazing. Is kind of really something I'm learning. And again, to emphasize, I am like a 5-year-old crawling on the floor in meditation. But it helps with my anxiety, it helps with my thinking. And I wish someone had kind of helped me understand how it can be part of your life. So that's what I'm, I guess, in a way, kind of being brave and saying and asking of my students to embrace. So if you want to sit down, come back and come away from this kind of structured place, because you are all in this beautiful energy at the front, then please do. If it's not for you, I would just say be still for 15 minutes is still really powerful. I think not fidgeting is kind of helpful. And then after that, again, I'm not going to do lengthy bios like you normally do in a panel. They're amazing people. We have, here's my list, Delis and Oliver, Katerina, Paula, Bobby's actually online possibly, Timmy. But then I think, again, it's about us, what we've heard is the discussion that we're all part of the same. And so it's about, instead of it being a panel, we're going to ask a couple of questions, but I would like each panel member then to sit in the audience with you and break you into groups where there can be a more intimate and kind of different kind of learning, I think. So just, yeah, roll with it, please. So should we start la meditazione? So please, yeah, come, sit where you are, however you feel works for you, however you feel comfortable. Again, to emphasize, it's just to be open to it, please.
So, sitting comfortably on your mat, you can, if you have any cushions or a towel, you can roll up and place underneath your sit bones. And just close your eyes, sitting nice and tall. Your palms could be facing up or they can be face down. on your lap, on your thighs. Shoulders are relaxed. Notice your body, relax your entire body from head to toe. Being aware of any tension, tightness, or pain. And then relax. Become aware of your breathing. Become aware of your inner body. If you cannot feel your inner body, just become aware of your hands. Drop the label hands and feel. It's a sensation there. The sensation of the inner body, of your life force. Letting go of the time, the concept of time. That's just a thought form. There's only this moment. To realize your true self is to be here in this moment. Detaching from labels, from thoughts, from emotions. It doesn't mean thoughts won't happen, emotions won't happen. It's all there. But focus your attention on that inner stillness. Becoming aware of external sounds. So there's an awareness of the form dimension, the form of breath, sensations in the body, such as tightness, contraction, or pain. There's awareness of the inner body, that feeling of aliveness within. Awareness of perhaps the occasional thoughts, awareness of emotions that may be lingering within you, awareness of sounds. So all of that, you're aware of the form dimension. Now turn your awareness on awareness itself. Who is it? What is it that is aware? Don't answer it with a thought, but just sense into it. And staying connected to that stillness within, connected to that inner body. We'll breathe together. We'll inhale for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and we'll repeat that. We're going to balance ourselves with this breath. It's like equal breathing of inhale, holding, exhale, and holding, and then repeating that. So before we begin that, let's have everyone take a deep inhale and exhale with the sigh. Just letting go of all emotions that are lingering. Deep inhale and exhale, let it go. And one more time, deep inhale and exhale. And inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Keep breathing like this on your own count. 3 more rounds, then return to your regular breathing. And notice whether your regular breathing has changed. Perhaps it's deepened all on its own. Perhaps you feel more balance and equanimity inside, a calm. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes.
So thank you. I'm going to suggest you probably stay where you are, and then kind of going to find Dilys is here, Timmy is here. So maybe is Bobby on the screen? Yeah. So we need the people in front of the screen to be with Bobby. Maybe do you want to stay here or do you want to move? So people here, Timmy, do you mind moving to, like, I don't know, maybe right over into that corner? Where's Oliver? Hey, okay. There's Oliver's group here. Where's Katerina? Ah, okay. So Katerina's group is here. Paula? Yeah. So over there. And then if that's so, Timmy, Dilys, Bobby, Paula, Oliver, and Katerina. If you can kind of naturally gravitate as a kind of group towards one of those points. So we need a few more with Dilys here, like maybe around the back, come to Dilys. There are 2 questions I asked of them, and actually rather than kind of breaking the kind of really lovely energy, it's for you to think about. I asked them, and maybe they can share with you, if you could do something immediately that would be about defashion, degrowth, that's learning and living for better on a short term, what would that immediate be? So idealism is a funny word, but like, let's just like, what would you do? And then if there was a long term, what would you do? And I think also what I would request is that we bring it back to education. We've drifted a little bit because by our nature, we kind of go towards this industry, but the industry is not the bit that we know is radical. What we need to talk about, as we've been told, is the radicality of the classroom. So I'd love those questions and the debate to be focused back to the movement of people that we are the privileged to be part of in education. And that's the movement of the generation that will force that power and that change with such kind of passion that we saw earlier this morning. So if you could, what would you do short term, immediately? What would you do long term to defashion, to better what we're all here passionately about, but to be in a new space, short, long? Dilys, Bobby, Paula, Timmy, Katerina, Oliver. Enjoy.
Hello, hello, hello. That's Michael. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Normally he should hear me now. Hello, hello.
I can hear you.
You can hear me and we can hear you. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah?
Loudness
All
is
right, cool.
loudness is good for you. The level. Is it loud enough for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's running. Fine. Thank you.
Soll ich das nehmen? Wenn, aber können wir da vorne mit ihm mitsprechen? Okay. Oh, but it's not. Bobby, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
It kind of comes and goes, but you're on now.
Welcome, Bobby. We can hear you finally. Like,
Okay,
a
cool.
very warm welcome. And everybody is kind of waving to Uganda. Hi.
Waving back. Hi.
So, can we make it a bit. It's just because it's a little different setup here than we expected, but it's quite fun. So, yeah, welcome, Bobby. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Bobby Collada. He's a designer of his own label, Buziga Hill, and very active in Uganda in working against textile waste and landfill in Uganda. So yeah. But now, Bobby, it's your turn to kind of answer the questions that Zoe posted to you or forwarded to you. So what will you do concerning defashion and living? Well, is the major question. What would you do immediate? So what is really a short-term action that you would take to make a way for defashion and a better living in fashion education?
Well, I can speak from a Ugandan perspective. Obviously, that's why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
the most immediate thing is, you know, the privilege of access to the internet, and that's really that's where the future is, I think, and it's something that can be done quite simply in the short term. Um, you know, from the perspective of Ugandan students, especially in fashion, like there's a general lack of technology and, you know, access to computers. The access to internet is seen mostly um, as entertainment, and I don't think we've reached this stage of understanding that YouTube University is actually a thing, and it's just a tool that could be implemented across several learning institutions here. But unfortunately, funding, corruption, the whole shebang here isn't working in that direction. So that would be my short-term solution.
And on a long term,
On a long term, a complete overhaul of the curriculum here, and also a curriculum that focuses more on local and doesn't look up to role models in the global north, which is generally a problem that we have here. So that would be my short-term solution. So we're trying to emulate systems that
and on a
don't
long
make any
term,
sense with what we're doing here, with our climate, with our people, with our language, with our culture. I mean, I'm sitting in a building right now with Schuko. Like for the Germans out there, these are Schuko windows that were imported into the country in the 1980s. And this building is made for the tropics. So it's super hot in here. There's no cross ventilation. But that's just a typical example of, you know, what are we trying to become as we grow our education system and our fashion and textiles industry. How much of it is actually ours and adaptable to the local environment? So I think there needs to be a complete overhaul of the curriculum.
Hi, Bobby.
Hi,
Franziska's on the phone.
she's on the phone. Is she on the phone with me? No, she's not texting me.
Like for you to kind of maybe come, and Bobby, thank you, but for you to kind of also ask and talk amongst each
Yeah.
other and have, you know, to share with Bobby back again. So I would just pass the mic round.
Yeah.
I know it's a little surreal, but it's all about
No, it's fine. Is,
holding the moment.
is somebody having a question? Yeah.
Hi, I do have a question. If you say it's about overhaul of the curriculum, then it's not just the architecture and stuff. Probably it's. I mean, you talk about the role models, but still, like, what could be the difference? Like, talking to students, how could it be possible to be in fashion and it's not ruining the world? What do you think?
Yeah, again, I think the key there is local, thinking locally, and that's it's not something that we're encouraged to do, and especially in a country like Uganda where the raw materials, like access to raw materials, could be so easy. Everything grows here. We could be the pioneers of sustainable raw materials for textile production, but instead, you know, what we end up doing is importing polyfibers to weave textiles here, and we say that we're growing an industry. So you know, fashion can be nice. It really can be. It can be beautiful, and when I talk to my team here and when I talk to people, I just mourn the fact that we're not using our soil. And maybe when I say an overhaul of a curriculum, I do feel like if you're studying fashion and if you're studying textiles, you need to think about the soil, and you need to think about the textile, like the raw material that's growing, the sun, the rain, the cotton, the hemp, the bamboo, the silk. Like we literally have everything here to generate all of these textiles ourselves. But again, we keep looking towards large-scale industry. We keep looking towards, producing for the masses, and these are all systems that, are clearly not working in the global north. So why are we trying to copy them? So if it was up to me, like, first few semesters of fashion, I would send students to the field and I would do research in textile, textile growth, textile generation locally.
Yeah, this is really encouraging me because we are focusing on regenerative seed farming. So we're going to Ecuador in October to meet with the World Food Programme. Even though we are coming from a fashion program at the Royal College, we're going to understand what the struggles are of seed farmers. How can they make a living that is sustainable, regenerative? I mean, what really interests me is, what do you need in terms of funding to get even a small seed farming project going? I wonder if we could, what we learned from Ecuador, we share with you as to how they support seed farmers. The whole idea is that droves of people are leaving Ecuador and fleeing because of the poverty, right? So they want to retain people, they want to grow, they want to support the communities. And what the World Food Programme has asked us to do is to come and see what their struggles are and then to do work with them. I mean, I would love to share what our findings were in Ecuador after our visit, but what would you need to get started?
Wow, that's it's hard to know where to begin, because in terms of like seed farming, I know there's difficulties with cotton seeds,
Yeah.
but my argument is also that we shouldn't just rely on cotton, because obviously
Yeah.
cotton is water intensive, although a lot of it is natural rain irrigation here. I think this conversation is about education, and I think what we really need is even just one small kind of learning group or institution that focuses on natural fibers.
Yeah.
There are several learning institutions here that offer fashion as a course, and there's even one that does like textile research. But you go there and you feel like you're stuck in the 1970s. Like technology hasn't reached there. There's no funding for these learning institutions. It's not a priority for our leadership, for our government. Like the priority is large investment at the moment. Most of which is Chinese.
Yeah.
So it's really, I think I say stuck in the 1970s, but I have the romantic opinion that we actually should just go back and forget all of this modernity, this so-called modernity that we're experiencing, and just relearn how to grow stuff and
Even
make
from
our own
your,
fibers.
maybe even from your indigenous communities, right? The tribal communities who are aligned with soil and nature and understand
Yeah.
about crops.
Yeah, but that's not sexy, you see. We're not really into, about 70% of this country is still reliant on agriculture. So it's not a sexy thing. And everybody just wants to be sexy, I think. So it's like, let's drift away from the soil, anything that's natural. Let's go for plastics. Let's go for shiny cars. Let's try to be like the West. Let's try to be like the global North. So if we can sort of get into the main fashion and textile courses here in the country and provide support for them and just relearn about that local is great. I think
Yeah.
we're still suffering from an inferiority complex
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Well, it's centuries old, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
When you look at colonies, right, they still have an old mindset. And so I guess you would have got colonized in the 1800s, I imagine, Uganda, 1850s.
No, it was later. It was at the turn of the century. It wasn't
Okay.
that. Yeah, exactly. But, you know, we're still very colonized
Yeah,
today.
yeah. Thank you. Anyone else?
I would have a question because is it? Do I remember where you also trained in Berlin?
Yeah.
And I wonder all the time. We learned this way to make collections, also as a solo designer, and also to do your own collection all the time on your own. And now I think you have also a very different approach to that, right? With your brand. Maybe you could tell us more what you learned and what you unlearned now, and how you implement it also in your way, how you do your work, your fashion collections.
Yeah, that's a good question because you said the word unlearn. When I first moved back and I started working on Buziga Hill, the first thing I did was I put up a mood board and I was like, so these are the ideas I have. This is what I want to do. I'm this creative director, designer guy, and yay, this is the plan. And then and then I started sourcing materials here, and the first bale of secondhand clothes I got was actually a bale of T-shirts from Germany. And then slowly over time, you begin to realize that you can't. It's not really always about what you want to do. It's about what your environment allows. And so I kind of shifted the direction, and I let myself and the team understand what these clothes were saying to us and what we can do with them. And they became the mood board. So it's been a process of just like, okay, this isn't how we can, you know, come up with an idea and implement it. It's more like, look at the material and what can you do with that material. So it's very different. It's a very different approach, which I feel is more. It demands more flexibility, less control, and I guess if you're open for it, it can be more fun. You know, but I won't lie, it's still frustrating, especially when it comes to sourcing materials and as you try to scale a business. You know, if somebody's going to order 45 dresses of you know, a similar style, it's just how are you going to convince them that no two dresses are going to be the same? It's just not possible. You know, you're using secondhand clothes. So that whole process, not just the designing, but also the marketing, the presentation, and the sales. You just have to completely unlearn everything that, you know, I had learned in Europe, in Berlin and Paris, and start afresh. And, you know, 2.5 years down the line, we're still learning as we try to infiltrate, you know, global markets and teach retailers that it is possible. You can actually trust us. We will deliver a good product. And maybe not every dress needs to be the same. You know, it's actually fine.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. And how do you? I guess it's also a struggle, no? Also to have like those conversations, also with
Yeah,
salespeople.
yeah, it is a struggle. Because
I mean, where does your
sorry.
encouragement come from, you know, to keep going? Because you're almost going against the grain.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess it's you know, you walk into our studio and you can tell that there's something different happening here. My personal encouragement comes from the team and seeing what we've been able to do in the last 2.5 years, which I think is a beautiful thing. And it, you know, even if it's a, you know, it's an act of defiance and it's a fight against a machine, really. But just to, yeah, to see the growth in ourselves and in this small team. We're now, you know, when I
Blue.
first started, we were 2
5
people,
minutes,
and
5
now we're like
minutes.
14
If you have a
people.
short term,
So
put it on here. If you have a long term, put it on here. You can hang it in the tree. 5 minutes, guys. 5 minutes.
Can I just ask you,
yeah.
you having come and had a European education and then going back to Uganda, What was your biggest struggle, and what do you think has changed in you?
Well, I think, when I first moved back, my whole agenda was let's ban secondhand clothing imports, let's work with Ugandan cotton. And I had this dream of like building a sustainable brand based on Ugandan cotton alone. And I think, I spent the first 2 years just doing a lot of research and trying to understand the market and the environment. And I think the biggest challenge to me was to recognize that I had come back with a Eurocentric view on the local environment.
Yeah.
And I hadn't, I was so passionate about like eradicating secondhand clothing as a form of trade here, but it's obviously not the solution. So it just went to show me that, if you're not on the ground somewhere,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to come up with strategies, and it's very difficult to understand the local environment. So the biggest challenge for me was to just readjust and begin to understand that secondhand clothes need to be used as a resource, and that our communities have been upcycling, recycling for decades. So I felt almost like there was a moment of reckoning, a wake up call, like, oh, listen, you're not coming back here with your European ideas. There are already ideas here. You just need to learn to adapt and work with them and learn from them.
Your president has stopped, is going to stop, right? Secondhand clothing waste coming in. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah. Is this being recorded? No. So I don't think he can. Um, the ban was announced, I believe, on the 24th of August,
Yeah.
and he had given a time frame of 2 weeks,
Wow.
and
Okay.
since then we haven't heard anything. So there's this huge media
Yeah.
sort of wave, international, locally, everybody was talking about it, but we haven't seen anything, and it's already the 16th of September. So 2 weeks have elapsed since the ban was supposed to be enforced. Technically speaking, economically speaking, it's not possible. There are just
Right.
too many people who are dependent on this trade.
Yeah.
It would eradicate an industry, and just the people who are engaged with the trade at a very concentrated and local level at the main secondhand clothing market, we're talking about 40,000 people.
Yeah.
And 40,000 people all have at least 5 dependents. So it's what are you going to do to all of them?
Yeah.
It's not possible. It's just not possible.
Sorry, let's see. His argument is that he wants the textile industry in Uganda to be rebuilt. Do you think that's not a reality because it's so decimated that maybe secondhand clothing needs to keep on happening whilst he's rebuilding, whilst there's an incentive to rebuild the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very noble idea, and that's what we're all trying to do, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're all trying to rebuild the industry somehow. But it's just the nature. You you can't just ban something
yeah,
overnight.
yeah,
There has to be, so many reports have indicated that, a phased out approach would work. And if we're to say, fine, there's now a factory that produces, I don't know, great socks using Ugandan cotton, then let's ban the importation of secondhand socks. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
But you can't just ban the whole industry. You know, we're not just talking about clothing. We're talking about towels, bed sheets, curtains, shoes, belts, handbags, everything.
Yeah.
The complete textile industry is so dependent on secondhand. I don't know how you can just eradicate it. And then at the same time, we do need to ask ourselves, who are the people who are actually building the factories, these factories that, you know, our government celebrates and supports with
Yeah.
tax cuts. These are multinational companies. These are companies that are importing polyfibers into the country. So if they're not actually investing in the development of natural fibers, then what's the point? We're just replicating a system that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we end up wearing poorer quality clothes than the secondhand clothes that we get from Europe and the US. So it's a huge loss, and I don't think it's a sustainable approach. I don't think many Ugandans want to sit in factories with 35, 2,000 people. I don't think that's in our nature.
Anyone else for a question? Yeah? Yeah, you go ahead.
Hello. So, for some context, I'm from Ireland, and so as a global northern country, we are also trying to like localize our production and start growing indigenous fibers. And we were colonized, and we're trying to get back what's the like wool and linen industries that we once had before we were colonized. And I'm wondering what your perspective is on like, in an ideal world, what would the relationship between a global northern country like Ireland and a global southern country like Uganda, in terms of our like mutually reciprocal touch points of collaboration? So at the moment, it's kind of like a very unequal exchange of like trade, where we ship all of our waste materials or what we consider to be waste to countries like Uganda, and then there's no back and forth. Is it something beyond like materials, such as like educational exchange, or do you have any idea of what that might look like?
Yeah, I definitely think, right, we have the problem. Big problem is waste. The big problem is fast fashion. I definitely think there has to be some sort of collaboration when it comes to waste management and technological exchange, because a lot of the time when I visit talks and conferences, you hear of all the innovations out there, especially Europe is like full speed. They're developing recycled yarns and fiber to fiber projects and stuff like that. But I ask myself if any of that knowledge is coming to the global south, to the communities that have for decades managed the waste from the global north. So that's why I also say we can't just ban the clothes. I would much rather we invested in fiber to fiber technology here, so that we're processing the waste that is already here in our systems, and that is going to continue, coming here. And then, when you talk about your indigenous fibers, our indigenous fibers, I honestly think there is a way to do this together. A country like Ireland obviously has access to an education system, to funding, to technology. Like a country like Uganda has access to we're blessed with this climate that we have here, but we're just not using it in the right way. So how can those two countries come together? And can there be a two-way flow of knowledge, material, technology, that kind of thing?
Before I go over there, before you end, remind ourselves it's de-fashion education. What was your fast, what do we do now? Radical, what do you do long term? Use these, they will be in the room when you go into the workshops on the way in. Please can grab that, because we think it's an opportunity for us to group, as I've been moving around. Yes, please.
So we're meant to leave it where?
Where then you tie them on the tree that are in the room where all the workshops are. The trees, ribbons. They call it a tree.
I will say, like Bobby and education. Okay. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
No one wants to ask a question. Thank you, Bobby. That's been really. I think the thing that we'll take away in terms of education is what we can learn from your indigenous
Okay,
approach
guys, we have come
and
to the
farming
end
and
of this
sharing with
panel
us
session, this
the other way
anti-panel,
around as well.
radical,
Thank you
still
so much.
conversing, ongoing. Write your
Bye.
comments
Bye.
down on the little strips, please. Hang them on the tree, i.e. the ribbons in the stairs when you go in. I just say thank you so much for your kind of ongoing energy from the performance that was amazing this morning. Thank you. I'm passing you back to the boss.
Thank you so much. You can stay, just stay where you are, because we're moving in a minute anyway. Thank you so much, Zoe and everybody on the panel. Thank you, Bobby, for coming in. Bobby asked the group, I think, for the immediate action, what can you do tonight? Tonight we're going to party, but we're going to ask you, what can you do tomorrow? So think about, or maybe Monday, but really the very short-term action you can take, if you could put that down on one card, and then the long-term, if you could put down that on another card. If you don't have your cards with you in the notebook anymore, there are cards, big pile of cards lying on the table as you come into the Institute where we are transitioning to now. We are going to start the next session quarter of an hour later. And in your sessions, in your workshops, you sort of